ohne Accusative prepositions. This is smarter German. Entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für. Entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für. Entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für. Entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für. Bis ohne O, bis ohne O, bis ohne O. Accusative. Bis ohne O, bis ohne O, bis ohne O. Bis ohne O, bis ohne O, bis ohne O. Bis ohne O, bis ohne O, bis ohne O. Accusative. Come and learn it. Come and learn it if you wanna. Come and learn it. Smarter German. Entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für. Accusative prepositions. Entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für, entlang durch Umgehen für. Entlang durch Umgehen für. Bis ohne O, bis ohne O. Accusative. Smarter German. Bis ohne O, bis ohne O, bis ohne O. Bis ohne O, bis ohne O, bis ohne O. Accusative. Bis ohne O, bis ohne O, bis ohne O. Bis ohne O.
Hello together. Schönen guten Abend. Ich brauche eigentlich nur eins. So, welcome in my new office. Yeah, it's a temporary stay in Sweden, where I'm on holiday for a couple more days. And but I thought, why not enjoy my holiday even more and do a masterclass? So today I'm happy to run you through the topic of prepositions. Even if you have not even had a single class of German, I will make it clear to you what this is about, the details. Yeah, there's plenty of things that you actually have to learn. You will not be able to catch today. That's normal, that's fine. But it's always good to know where you are, yeah, and in what direction things are heading. So this gives you a little orientation. And if you're already struggling with prepositions, hopefully clarity as well. So let me start the presentation. You will be able to see me. Oh, actually, give me a second. It might take another minute. So thanks for filling out the poll. It's always interesting to know. Somehow the upload of the presentation didn't work. So rough outline, I will do the presentation that might last anything between 30 and 45 minutes. I try to keep it shorter than longer. And after that, we have a Q&A of whatever. It might be 10 minutes if there's not many questions, might be 20 minutes if there's many questions, or depending on how much traffic is on the floor that I'm at. Yeah. So it's still uploading. Maybe you can share with me where you are learning German. I see that 30% are not learning German. And maybe what's always interesting, what do you need help with? What are you struggling with? I always do masterclasses on topics that are helpful, yeah, that touch the pain points of the learners, and prepositions are one of the major pain points, which is why we are coming together today. Let me see. Yeah, very slow progress, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Somehow, for whatever reason, it works. Here we are. So here we go. Yeah, that looks interesting. I hope you see. Do you see full screen?
Yeah, but delay.
I have a little monitor here. So because I see a smaller screen, which is interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good enough. So prepositions. Let's go through this. By the way, if the connection ever fails, you can let me know in the chat. If it's just one or two people, just restart the meeting. And always pay attention to the sticky message, the yellow thing on top. And if everybody breaks down, I have a panic button, and I push that, and then in 30 seconds you are back online with me. Yeah, just stay with me. I will not let you wait long. So everything is taken care of. Good. So you see this, I already said. Let's see. Let me give you a quick overview. I'm just a little bit confused why this is just square format and not 16:9, but so be it. So there is a couple of prepositions. There is maybe 3 or 4 or 5 that I will not show in this presentation because they're simply not relevant for anyone below C1 level. And if you come across them, you just look them up. It's all fine. Yeah. There's also genitive prepositions, which I will not touch because that's C1 stuff. So there is accusative prepositions. If you don't know what accusative is, don't worry about it. In German, we have cases. In many languages, you also have cases, even in English, even though it's hard to spot that. And for example, whom, to whom is a remnant of a kind of dative. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not an English linguist, but this is what I would assume. And by the way, if I see this list, don't even bother with learning things by heart, remembering things. Just relax and enjoy. You can rewatch this. You've enrolled in this, registered for this webinar. If you have to leave in half through the webinar, you can just leave. And you should get an email with a reminder, with a replay of this. Yeah. And again, there's no need to learn anything by heart. Follow me to the end and you will figure out why. Yeah. So Richa, if the screen is not loading, please restart. Can anybody else see the screen nicely? Do you see a blue square with an A and some words in it? Yeah, my opposite can, but she's in the same network. Good. Let me continue. So the accusative prepositions are one. Then, of course, we have the dative prepositions, which you might have come across. These are words after which you need a certain case. The case will show in form of a different article. Thank you for the feedback. And we have those that cannot decide whether they want to work with accusative or dative. They need a little bit more help. We will talk about this later. I have a whole live class on those in the middle, in a masterclass, live class, which you find in my online course. Yeah, not in the first lesson that is free, but in the paid version. So I always leave these masterclasses off on air for roughly 10 days or something. And after that, I integrate them into my course, if there's not already a beautiful video about this. Now, how do we use these? And if you look up Ulysses, that's a story worth reading, maybe even in German, give it a shot. Was a guy that actually struggled getting home. Yeah, got a little bit confused on the way. So the main use is to talk about or show where or when something is. And to give you an insight, for example, ich bin noch im Bett, I'm still in bed. So in bed means it's a location. Where are you in bed? Ich komme in einer Stunde, I'll come in an hour. Yeah, it's about time. In an hour is when is something. So this is the main use, and if it's the main use, all is fine. It's easy, not much trouble. It's also very similar to English at times. But then there is, of course, other use. And the other use is to connect verbs with object, or with an object. And one example of that is, ich denke an dich, I'm thinking of you. So to think of someone has nothing to do with where or when. Yeah, it's really irrelevant. You can, of course, add that kind of information, but that's not the case. So what all that does is it connects the dich to the denke. Because if you didn't have the little an here, you would have to say, ich denke dich, which grammatically is doable, but nobody would ever say that. I'm thinking you. Yeah, that's almost philosophical. Might also be true. But you can see that's the main purpose or the other purpose of prepositions. By the way, prepositions in German are called relationship words. So prepositions kind of express a relationship between two things or more. Caroline, if it's frozen, can you still hear me? We start the meeting. I'm frozen. Yeah? If it's only one person that has the freezing part, maybe you can, maybe your network is weak or someone is using something or downloading things. Yeah? Good. So what's the problem? Well, what would you say is the problem with the prepositions? Is any one of you already familiar with prepositions? If you're in the first lesson of my course, you have seen them, but you haven't consciously actually noticed them. Yeah, I'll give you 10 seconds to think about this. And then I'll share with you what I think the problem is. Oh, good, Caroline. Thank you. Well, it is abstract. Yeah, all these tiny little words that you saw a minute ago are just tiny little abstract words. And abstract things are so difficult to remember that you need kind of help. For example, what does a durch, through, look like? You could visualize it. Yeah, this could be a nice symbol for through. And through is one of the easier prepositions, but I like the image, so I chose that. And but it gets more difficult actually if you try to imagine a kind of what else do we have? Gegen. Well, I don't know. You can always find an image, but you would see later where these images will not help you. Yeah, let me continue. So the main problem is also that they are complex. They have multiple translations, and you need to remember the case that they require. Yeah. And they're actually at times randomly connected to a verb. We get to that later. So if I enter off, just off, without any context, into Google Translate, I get 3 translations. Von, aus, I don't think even it showed me the accusative or dative. So I have to pick one of 3 translations if I think like this, if I work like this. Yeah, with Smarter German, you don't work like this. But this is what 99% of German learners actually work like. Yeah, and teachers, unfortunately, as well. And then you need to remember, oh, is it accusative or dative? So much thinking. Once you've figured that out, if you have learned that ever, your speaking partner has fallen asleep. So, for example, here, yeah, which one would you take? I'm thinking of you, yeah, because you start from your mother tongue or from English, and then you try to find the German expression, which is a problem, as you can see now, or we'll see in a minute. So which one would you add? Von, aus, if you work with a dictionary or like a dictionary. Ich denke, dich. Just hack it quickly into the chat. Let me see what you know. And also let me see who paid attention to the earlier slides. And some people might already know this. Okay, we got two answers. An, von, an, Beautiful. Go for it. 73 possible answers. Okay, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So if you think back a little bit, I've shared already the right answer, but the right answer, funny enough, is none of the translations Google Translate gave to me. Google Translate would give you the right answer if you said, I'm thinking of you, it would give you, ich denke an dich. But you see what happens if you try to learn prepositions isolatedly, like on their own. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So what? Makes no sense. It's random here. And why that is, yeah, I will try to make clear today. Where there's a problem, there's a solution, at least in most cases. Yeah? And if there's no solution, why bother? As we're talking, there must be a solution. So first thing is focus on one translation at a time. And the translation you don't do from English to German, you do the translation from German to English. And that gets you through at least 80% of the situations. Don't try to write this down. Take a screenshot at the end if you want, but don't learn them like this. Learn them in a context, learn them when they come. Yeah, for example, in the lesson of my course. So these are the accusative prepositions. These are the two-way prepositions or two-case prepositions. And these are the dative prepositions. So this is like whatever, 16, what is it, 3, 6, 7, 14, 21, 23, 4 prepositions. Don't learn them like that. Yeah, you will come across them as you proceed with your language course, no matter where you learn them. And then you have one translation, you take the translation that is the most frequent one. And again, it's important that you go from German to English. So this is just an overview of all the relevant prepositions out there. And if you only have one translation, you don't have to think, you don't have to decide. The less you have to decide, the fewer decisions you have to make, the faster you get, the more fluent you will be. If you have to differentiate between two possible answers, you're gone. So one it is. This is what that means. You can look it up. Yeah. So much abstract information. So second solution is to understand the logic, which is what I'm here for, to give you an insight in those parts that are logical about the use and of the prepositions. If a translation makes sense, no problem. For example, you have a sentence as Bild hängt an der Wand, and you kind of put things together. Even if you don't remember an, the picture hangs the wall. So you would naturally fill the gap and say, okay, it's hanging on the wall. Yeah, the on just comes naturally. You don't even have to understand the an in order to use it right. So the problem is, of course, coming from the English one to the German one, which is something you will learn how to do later. But just to want to know, they are pretty easy. You can easily understand them, and you might even be able to easily use them if you only have one translation. If the translation doesn't make any sense to you, in the sense of why an, then you have to learn it by heart. Don't worry. But learning by heart is very simple. There's nothing complex about it. You don't even need intelligence to learn something by heart. You could be a brick, and could learn that by heart. Nobody knows whether bricks are good in learning things by heart because they have trouble speaking, but let's assume. So here, Simone denkt an die alte Villa. So why on earth would I use an? Suddenly an means off. Yeah, we had the denken an before. It's completely random. It really is random. There is no logic to why an needs to follow denken in certain situations if you want to add an object. So you have to learn that by heart. And this issue is mainly called verbs with prepositions. It's a more advanced issue, possibly A2 already, and then B1 for sure. There's a limited amount of those verbs with prepositions, and you can learn them pretty quickly.